What's up, guys? Jason here, Morph Mixology Reptiles. Welcome back to the channel and to the live stream, to the snake room. This takes a whole bunch of debauchery to try to get this all set up in here because it's not always set up like my desk is, but that's all right. I think this looks cooler than the back of my guest room, but that's not what we're here for tonight. I appreciate, first of all you guys that are in the comments already, all the way back to HB Reptiles that posted up at 5:58 local time, an hour and 2 minutes early. Is just insane. But we got all the usual suspects: Chris Sexton, Paul Taylor, Vivid Scales has been hyping this all day long. Got a whole bunch of cool people in here, so we'll definitely get to all of that. I'm super excited for this one for sure, because I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that Josh and Jackie have been instrumental in our progression in this hobby, getting started. In my case, keeping my foot out of my mouth occasionally. And he's been a fantastic friend and a great person to have on board. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and bring them in and say hi. In this case, to Josh. Jackie is here, but she's hiding. What's going on, guys?
She's around. Hey, guys. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being on, man. This is a big deal for us. I understand this is your live stream debut. This is the first one. Is that true?
Yeah, no, this is I appreciate you asking me to do this. It's kind of fun.
That's I like to be on the forefront of this if I can help it. That's pretty cool. We were Ryan's or Lindsay's first live stream too. So we're kind of hitting all of the Midwest people right now. It's like we're kind of in this Midwest wave the last few weeks. But no, I wanted to.
Breeders out here.
There are indeed. In fact, we were talking the other day. My wife and I are going to try to be down your way in late March, and we might try to put some together to bring a group of the people in the immediate area around, and I'll hang out and talk snakes and say hi in that. So that'll be kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just wanted to bring you on, man, and just kind of hang out. I mean, I don't know if you've watched the ones before, but the big thing here is it's completely off the cuff and unscripted, and it's more for me about bringing friends of the hobby and more of the behind the scenes, for the most part, breeders in that out to the forefront and let people get to know them and hang out and whatnot. We are going to have some more recognizable names, I guess, more out there names coming up, but I wanted to start out with getting some of these kind of underground guys out here, and so that's why we dug you up and put you in front of a camera.
Am I still considered an undergrounder? That's good. I like it.
I mean, not underground, but you don't have you're not doing a daily vlog on YouTube, and you're not front and center page on social media, and that you kind of. I've noticed, because you've helped me a lot in like Facebook and Instagram, from, like I said, from putting my foot in my mouth. And it seems like sometimes you just kind of sit back, watch the world burn, interject as you need to kind of keep the fire going, and then just kind of, so.
Oh, I mean, every now and then it's fun. I really like to joke with everybody. There are a lot of people that take me, everything I say, 100% serious, and they probably shouldn't do that. But if, someone wants to have a conversation about snakes, I'll definitely have a good conversation with them about it. But I think having fun with everybody and joking with everybody every day is a lot of fun, really.
Yeah. Well, if for some unforeseen reason anybody in here watching this later on does not know who Josh and Jackie are and who the ball python shed is, why don't you give yourself a little bit of an intro?
Okay, so I'm Josh. Lundberg is my last name. My wife is Jackie. We have ball python shed here in Fort Scott, Kansas. Been raising the ball pythons for I don't know exactly how many years. We've had them for quite a while. Really started hitting it hard in like 14 and 15 to really try and have a really nice collection. It was more just learning before that, and it definitely takes a lot to learn everything. And everybody buys, and you end up buying things that you don't want, so you end up having to get rid of it. It's just part of it, and then deciding what directions you want to go. But it's been a fun process, watching and just supporting the people in the background a lot of the way.
Yeah, so that's definitely one thing I wanna touch on. It seems like I've talked to a number of people that are like me, that came in relatively recently, and it seems that you pick those people out and kind of shelter them a little bit, bring them in and kind of mentor, if not specifically as a mentoring program per se, but more as kind of like just keeping an overwatch on the new people in that. And I thought that was really cool, and I've always wondered what drives you to do that. Because there's plenty of people out there that either don't care about the newcomers or outright try to step them down, and for whatever reason you just like, come over here, I'll help you out, and we'll make sure you get moving.
Well, what I didn't realize in the beginning of this is how big the industry is. So, as a young guy coming up, trying to compete, I guess, is what it comes down to, having nice females and nice males to produce the top end clutches. It's definitely a lot of fun to produce all that stuff. But it takes a progression to get there, and it definitely takes a lot of time and a lot of money in this business to reach your goals. But that is probably what drives me to do what I do, because I see a lot of people spending frivolously. I actually turn down sales all the time because people ask me certain things, and I will pretty much steer them in another direction to try to keep them focused, because it's easy to get to, I guess, go in like so many different directions, and I did that in the very beginning too. But now I guess I kind of consider myself one of like the asphalt guys of the U.S. I really took on that project like 4 or 5 years ago. Invested heavy into it, and I have a lot of it, and you'll see a lot more of it coming with the new combos we'll be making. But we're still in the infancy of that. I mean, there's not that much super asphalts that have really been made. I mean, pastels and inchies, and a super inchy was made last summer. I seen someone sent me a picture of one that was really beautiful, and it's just barely even been touched. So these guys that come in, I see them trying to want to start a business. I mean, I guess it's because I've been that guy in 2 or 3 other businesses in the past. I raised elk for about 15 years in the whitetails. I came in as a new guy in those businesses, and I actually had some pretty cool people take me under their wing that were kind of like top end, more professional guys that have been in the business a long time, and just showed me the ropes. And I feel like the more success I have every year, a lot of these guys that hang out with me, and people don't even understand that, is I haven't even sold a snake to some of them, or maybe just one. They buy a lot of snakes from other guys, and they'll send me pictures and say, is this a good deal? And I tell them every day, if it's a good deal, go buy that snake. I mean, especially if it's even something I have. I mean, if it fits the program or it's better, I suggest them do that.
Well, in the case of one of your supporters here, Chris Sexton, threw a super chat out, said it's a deposit for his super asphalt, $5 a week, and he'll have it paid off in no time.
He's a good man. He's a good dude. I appreciate dealing with him, and he's been very supportive.
We're gonna have him on as well. Chris has been arguably our best customer and one of our best friends from the very beginning. So he has a whole handful of stuff from us, and he's been really good about it. And we've worked some deals together both directions. So Chris has been great to have on board for sure.
And he's building a nice solid collection too.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. he's gonna surpass me in no time in overall quality for sure.
That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna ask you. So, how long have you been in the reptile game as it stands?
I actually have kind of been in and out of the reptile game for, I would say, 15 years. I mean, back in high school and all that, I had ball pythons, and I had as many as 6 and 8 of them at a time back then. That was kind of a cool thing, and it was definitely not really acceptable for most people. So, I had them in aquariums, and these were just normal ball pythons way back then. And I mean, as I was progressing and just watching the business, basically, I started seeing, piebalgs being made. I can remember me and Jackie looking at some of the first pieds that were made were awesome. And so, I mean, it's and then I had some Burmese pythons for a while, the albino berms. I had a few cool big snakes. That was kind of when me and Jackie first got together. And then things got to where we just couldn't have them for a while in the beginnings of our relationship. And so it just kind of has been coming full circle, back to it, and it's here to stay now.
So, as I say, at what point did you commit to breeding for profit? I guess is the best way to put it.
I would say probably in the 15 range was the year actually my mindset was to expand the collection in a really big way, and so I really invested pretty heavy in 15. I probably, I don't know how much money I spent, but I invested really heavy, and I would say that was probably my groundbreaking year of really hitting the trail hard. Yeah.
Okay, and are you full time at this point, or do you still have a quote unquote real job?
So this is my real job now.
Okay.
This last year, we basically have sold 100% of the cattle that we had, because we were doing that. We had a lot of cows, over 100 head at one time.
Wow.
And with calves and everything, it was a couple hundred head that we were taking care of on a daily basis. Plus trying to grow the snake thing. And I was doing the whitetail hunting thing, some of that at that time too. So it was extremely busy, and cutting a lot of that out as we grew the snake business is basically what we've done, and then developed it into where we're at today. I've got around 260 to 70 breeder females, and the holdbacks in the rack that are growing up. It's been fun.
I'll do a quick shout out to Chris Eaton, Snakes and the Fat Man. You've been on his show, so he stopped by to share some love. He's actually going to be on here in a few weeks. That ought to be a rowdy one, if nothing else.
No, he's awesome. He was one of those guys in the very beginning that kind of, when I really started to invest heavy in 14 and 15, he called me up and he just shot it to me straight. I mean, he could see that I was spending some money on some nice animals, and he's just one of those guys that wasn't no bull crap. And I appreciated that. It definitely, it opened my eyes a little bit, because you can get caught up in so much of the business that you really have to slow down and focus, is what I always say.
Yeah, I don't want to claim that Chris is becoming a softie in his old age after his stroke and getting a haircut and that, but he's it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'm excited to kind of one of the things I want to do with guys like that have been around a long time. I'd love to get Sean Bradley on here, but he's a nightmare to coordinate with. But I want to get some of the old timers, so to speak. And I just want to light them up and turn them loose and hear some of the stories in the history and that of getting here. Like the couple of days I spent at Justin's place, I got some of that, and it's just awesome to hear some crazy backstabbing stories and, big money here and huge wins and huge losses. Like there is so much of that, 15, 20 years ago that would be really cool to learn about.
Oh, it's this business, I mean, I'm not trying to say it in any way, but there's a lot of money that changes hands in this business. There's a lot of snakes that sell. So I'm sure, politics are going to be involved in it in every way, shape, or form for sure.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, if anything's to go by, you look at the place Justin just built and that beautiful iron gate that he's got and the Porsche sitting in the driveway. There's obviously money in snakes. Like, granted, that's an outlier, of course, but it's possible.
And I don't, he is the outlier, but I think he's the beginning foundation of that. I mean, back when I was in the whitetail business, you would see these guys start to buy deer that were like 2,000 to 3,000, and then that business grew to where those deer were bringing like 20,000 to 30,000, and guys were putting up iron gates and beautiful homes. That, I'm not saying that that's the way it's all going to evolve, but I think that there's some guys that can be really successful in this business. Yes.
So let's kind of we'll get away from snakes for a minute, because that's something that I am curious about, interested. Can you explain to me okay, first of all, before we go any farther, Lonnie Wilson said we should see your 20-car garage in your collection that you keep kind of on the DL. Are you hiding something from us?
Lonnie's a pistol now. No, he's a good man. I like having Lonnie around for a wingman. He was one of those guys that I think that was at one point, on the verge of maybe even not being in it at the level that he is now, and I'm glad he's around, because he's a lot of pleasure and he's a wealth of knowledge. To be honest, he knows a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, so tell me about this whitetail and elk business. How in the world did you get into big game livestock, and how is that a market? What exactly is that?
So it's basically identical to the snakes in the way that, and that's what drove my passion in the snakes. So in 2002, I bought my first elk cows. And basically, you have an 8-foot tall fence, and you're regulated by the state a little bit. So other than that, you're basically just breeding them like beef cows. You have bulls and you have cows and they have calves, and the only difference is you breed the elk breed a certain time of year. As everybody knows, there's the rut for the deer and the elk, and it's in the fall when they breed. But so when I grew up, my passion was hunting and fishing. That was my whole entire passion, catching snakes, catching frogs. I mean, I was just in the woods as much as I possibly could. So as I got older, I guess that just morphed into my love for the wilderness, and my passion for hunting turned it into an income. And so I turned it into world-class whitetails of southeast Kansas. And so as I was growing that, I wanted to raise the elk and just kind of have a hands-on thing. It's an exotic animal. I love the whitetails and the antler that they grow every year. So it was just really neat. And so I started buying those, and then it become a genetics thing. So you can breed this buck to this doe, and she can produce this tremendous. So it's like breeding just an asphalt to a super asphalt female, and everything's super. I mean, it's a lot of it is the same. And in the whitetails and the elk, when they grow antler every year, they show it. So you get to see an expression, which is just like the snakes. You get to see the expressions that they have. So, I mean, it's just the snakes multiply a million times faster, and you get to see that many more morphs, and it's just at a whole nother level and rate of genetics. So that really drove my passion to actually want to do this more than anything versus all that. But yeah, I did that for almost 15 years. I was really involved in the Elk Breeders Association. Actually, most people don't know that. I was vice president of the North American Elk Breeders Association for 4 years and sat on the board of directors for 10 years. And so I was really involved in the industry and, the lobbying stuff in Washington and all that bull crap that, people don't want to hear about. But it was a lot of history that taught me a lot of stuff, so it was fun when I did it.
That's bizarre. I mean, I live in Montana, which is arguably one of the best elk hunting places on the planet. And
That's true.
I had no idea that there were private ranches that bred elk and whitetail. Like, that's insane to me. I didn't know that was a thing. So were you breeding them like livestock or breeding them as a guided hunting ranch?
So I had both. So I had my breeding operation up here at the farm. I had 40 acres that was just fenced for the breeding operation, where I had my elk cows, and then I had my whitetail does, and the barn that I'm setting in now, the facility, the snake facility I'm in now, we built a couple years ago. This all used to be a deer and elk handling facility where we run them in the barn and put them down into boxes and then put them into chutes where we AI, and I hired people to come in that traveled all over the country and AI deer and elk. And so we did everything, to the level that everybody would. And so then the deer that we would raise, or the elk that we would raise, it was just like livestock. They hit 3-4 years old and they grow a big enough set of antlers. Then I would turn them into the hunting area, or I would sell them as breeding stock. To be honest with you, a lot of the animals that we sold were sold as breeding stock or seed stock for the next guy. So that worked out pretty well. It's just like snakes. When you have a high-end operation and you're selling high-end snakes, it's all exactly the same. People buy them as breeders.
So what does a pet elk cost?
So like a breeding bull, I mean, it's all on size. I mean, it's just like a Batman clown versus a clown, a clown. So a genetic bull. So a 3-year-old elk bull, let's say, for example, just a poor quality one would be like a 330 class. Well, in the wild, that's big, but in our breeding operation, that's not. So, I mean, they vary anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 very easily.
So you're able to breed. So you're able to breed for the hunting side of it anyway. You were able to breed Boone and Crockett record-setting elk, then, right?
Yes.
That's
that's
wild.
I actually raised, and you can look all this stuff up. We used to have a breeding bull named Tequila, and that's kind of what made me famous.
That's a great name for an elk.
A little bit. But he was like the largest elk ever raised, age for age. So it was like a genetic just freak, and that was kind of what got me going in the business. I kind of just got lucky there, if you want to know the truth.
Weird. Are there different, for lack of better terms, are there different flavors of elk, like an Angus cow versus a milk cow versus whatever?
No, there wouldn't be anything in that. Basically,
I mean, an elk is an elk.
Elk is an elk, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they're fed better. I mean, the grain-fed elk that we're raising right in front of me, on a big bucket of grain every day, is probably tasting pretty good compared to some wild ones. Yeah.
Although you get, I learned a long time ago in hunting, the animals taste a lot like what they eat. So, like all the antelope that we would pull out of southwestern Wyoming, that were all fed on high desert sage, and that they had a very earthy, herbal taste, like sage, obviously. The elk up here, the deer up here, and that it's a different story because there's the shrubbery and the foliage, and that's totally different. So
yeah, and Montana's got the big alfalfa fields, so it's good feed.
Yeah, we have a landowner up here. They're not far from north of me here, probably 50 miles, 60 miles or so, and they're Texas oil money is what the family is. And they're the largest single landowner in the state of Montana. They've got something like 500,000 acres or something to that. It's just absurd numbers. I mean, we're talking like counties worth of land.
Yeah.
And they put right smack dab in the center of it, because they got all this stupid money. They built their own airport with like an 8,000 foot long paved and lighted runway, a big ass hangar that can fit. They can fit four of their jets that they own. They run back and forth between there and Destin, Texas, constantly. And it's like, and the problem is because they have such a large mass of land, all of the elk have migrated to there, and now they're all landlocked and we can't get to them. and they are real
Yeah.
assholes about letting people hunt on their property.
Oh, I could imagine. It's
But
big time stuff these days.
yeah, one of the guys I work with, he flies his airplane up there, and he'll fly down the length of their runway at like 10 feet just to look around and that. Because if you land, you're in trouble. That's private property, but you can screw with them all you want, you know. It's like,
Oh, I gotcha.
but that's nuts, man.
Slip
I
in
had
there and check them out.
Yeah, I was telling him the property size is so big, you could probably dump in his airplane, you know, with the big Tundra tires for off road landing and that. It's like you could probably dump into like some corner of the property, let some guy out and leave, and they would never know they were there to go hunt. You know, like,
There's probably
man,
someone living in there anyway.
oh, I'm sure. And if you ever got caught, you'd be screwed. Like that'd be ugly. So that I get the feeling then that you also have the super awesome hookup for where to get big game in East Kansas.
I try. Yeah.
You gotta know all of the sweet spots. That's something we used to hunt on a private ranch in Wyoming and for antelope. And I moved up here 6 years ago and I haven't hunted yet, which is disgusting to say. But we're gonna have to get some this year for
Montana's
sure.
you got some good hunting up there. I wouldn't mind getting up there at some point and do some antelope hunting or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know you're more than welcome here. We've got a guest from everything. And I work with guys that know where all the places to go. I've got bow hunters and long gun hunters. And so we've got we've got the hookup and I've got the spot to stay. Adam Waterbury says, you know, you're in a sparsely populated area when 50 miles just north of here. That's close in our world. When the next city is 2 hours.
50 miles is Kansas City for me.
Yeah, and you know the next major town for us is 2 hours, and the nearest major city is 8 in any direction. Is
it really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm exactly the same distance from Salt Lake as I am from Denver. I'm just over 5 hours from Rapid City, and about 8 hours to about 8 or 9 hours to Spokane. That's about as far as I've gone.
Yeah.
So definitely not local or not close, if anything else. Let's see. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any comments here. Paul Taylor wants to know. He thought he heard that you raised unicorns. He wants to know what that's like. The next level stuff.
So the unicorn thing is kind of like a little inside joke. Just you know, whenever someone sees something that's maybe misidentified or someone maybe just accidentally didn't put the right gene in there, we just kind of throw a little unicorn. You know, it's just kind of a funny little inside joke deal.
Okay, so Adam gets it. He says he's 90 miles from the closest Home Depot. I'm not quite that remote.
Yeah, that's
jeez. Yeah, so let's actually, I'm curious. Are you aware of, or have you even produced any morphs, I guess is the best way to say, in either deer or cattle or elk? Like, have you produced an albino, or is there such thing as a pied elk? Because I can only imagine that would look incredible, you know.
So there is. I didn't know as much about it when I was doing the elk and the deer because that's not really something people go for. They're just chasing the biggest rack they can get at the youngest age to sell the animal.
Well, most guys in high school are too.
But yeah, no, to answer your question, there are albino elk. And now that I've, in the snake, thinking back at it more. And then the whitetails, there's quite a few albinos. And then there's people that do breed for piebalds. I think there's like a Clint. There's someone named Clint that raises ball pythons, and he has piebald whitetails that he raises as well in Michigan, I think it is.
Whoa, that is... Actually, I think I saw a picture of one of those. Cool. That's wild. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's...
But yeah, no, it's... So yeah, they got a couple little things like that.
I feel so bad because I cannot. Kenny, isn't it? I cannot for the life of me remember Royal Genetic Reptiles down in PR, what his name is. Yeah, there you go. Am I right? Is that Kenny?
So ask about the Nada gene. Okay. Do you want me to tell you about it?
Yeah, might as well.
So the Nada gene is a real gene. I just kind of accepted the name for it over the last few months. Some of my buddies, Tony Penley and Dave Buchanan, when we went down to Arlington, they brought a normal snake with them, and we put it on the center of the table just to really kind of have fun and mess with people like we do on Facebook every day. And we just put Het Nada on it. And everybody that came by almost asked about this snake. What is this Het Nada? What is this Het Nada? And so it turned out to be kind of a really funny, inside joke during the whole time. But so when I came home, I told those guys that I have this gene. It's called the Omega gene, and I've noticed that there's like 2 or 3 other people that have tried to name something the Omega over the last like 2 years, and I'm like, well, I just don't want to get it all confused. So I might as well I haven't came out with my stuff. I've just kind of showed it to a few people. It's a brand new recessive that'll be coming out in a few years that I have. So I'm just going to call it the Nada. So I'm going to call it the Nada gene, and then I'll be selling Het Nadas someday. And so the other day when I made a post, someone asked me to make a head stamp post. So I took a picture of a spot nose, and it was double Het Nada clown, which it really is double Het Nada clown, because I bred my clown to my Nada female. And so I had like 3 people send me messages. Well, you dogging on clowns now? And I'm like, no, it actually is a double Het Nada clown.
That's fantastic.
So they were thinking, yeah. So it's an inside joke, but it's a real gene that kind of just makes fun, too.
So off the record, none of them can hear me say this, but you're gonna hook me up when we go public with this thing, right? This Nada.
Yeah, there's a few people that when you see the snake in person, the original Nada, she's a really intriguing recessive. I think it's gonna be really cool. We'll see what happens when it all comes out, but I should be making some of the first visuals soon.
If you're comfortable in saying what does it do?
Okay, so the female herself basically looks like a black melanistic looking animal. She almost has like she basically has a melanistic look to her, but she's not a hypo that I can tell in any way, shape, or form. So I've made 3 clutches with her, and nothing has came out that looked like her. So basically, Kenny Aponte, he was with me, and I don't even know if he knows this, but when we were in Arlington, or not Arlington, but Daytona, like 5 years ago, I think it was, is where I found this female on the table as like, just an import. And I opened it up, and it almost looked like a super blackhead combo is what she really looks like. Like she's really darker, like a super GHI combo. And
but
so
still
I just
has
kind of
pattern.
took her and, still has some pattern, but not. I mean, you can see the pattern, yes, but it's not like really, visible pattern to it. And I'll start showing more of it as we go here. I just want to make sure that I get some visual stuff made. I bred her the spot nose clown, the pastel leopard clown, just really simple clown combos so that I can make, some really just simple stuff to start with and really be able to identify it, I think. But yeah, I think it's actually going to be one of the, nicer recessives to work with someday, because there isn't one that darkens something up and makes it bling at the same time. This really kind of does that.
Are you seeing with the adult that it's increasing, like almost like an IMG in boas, or does it look similar to when it comes out?
So the babies,
just in general, are you seeing that are they getting progressively darker as they age?
The babies are, because they're like a het sunset. I mean, I've seen quite a few het sunsets. They almost have like an orangish or a fire-ish looking undertone to them, a flamey little undertone on their sides on some of that stuff. And I think that's what, the sunset's bringing some of that orange into it as the hets. these kind of do the same thing. They really like the normals almost have a mandarin look to them, just as a normal het baby almost.
Interesting.
So I think that it's got a lot of potential. We'll see what happens. And the babies are really bright, and the head stamps are really prevalent when they're born, and they're holding good color even as the hets.
And so you're seeing it as a recessive with a visual het or a het with markers as opposed to an incomplete dominant then?
Correct. Yeah. Basically, I'm seeing a het that shows a lot of like the same het look as almost a sunset.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Like some of the tri-stripe stuff, if you really do neck comparisons, like puzzle stuff has really puzzling in the neck of the het. The tri-stripe stuff kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, I've got a super pastel possible het puzzle, and I think I sent her to you when I was looking at getting her, and everyone said, I'll bet you she proves, because already on the top of her where the eye bands come around and meet in the back, they've got that kind of sawtooth look to them already, and it's the busiest super pastel I've ever seen. So, you know, I'll tell you, she was a horrendously bad eater. I think she went close to a year without eating. And I tried everything I could think of: live, frozen, pre-killed, small, large, mice. It didn't matter. And I honestly thought we were going to lose her. And about it's probably been 6 months ago now, maybe 5 months ago. I was like, you know what? Let me just, out of the blue, I had an extra mouse I was feeding off to one of the hatchlings. I'm like, let me throw a mouse, like a small mouse. I mean, this is a 900-gram girl, right? It's like, let me just throw a freaking mouse in there. And she went and hit it immediately. And then when she finished it, I threw a second one, and she took that one too. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a slow build, but at least she's eating something. And so I was able to progress from that to frozen thawed ASFs, actually, which was good because I could start getting her some volume at least. She'll take live, like kind of small, maybe a little bit smaller than small rats now. And I think I'm right on the verge of getting her back on frozen rats. So I think we finally turned the corner and we can get her going. So
yeah. Just have to get confidence and level up.
Yeah, knock on wood, we haven't lost one yet in that regard. I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it in this video or in the live last week. I haven't put it in a video yet, but we did. I know I told you we did lose the Sumapide, which was heartbreaking. I mean, we cut that clutch. It was the last clutch of the year, the second to last egg of the season. We cut it on my birthday on a live stream with Billy and Chris from Canada, and it turned out to be a male. You know, we beat all the odds and got it in male and everything, and it just he just never showed any interest in food, never took to it. He came out super small to begin with, and he never took any interest to food. And so I tried everything I could, and then I assist fed him a couple weeks ago, and he took it. I was like, oh, thank God, finally. He had a nice, belly, and he was looking good. And I came in the next morning, and he had tried to regurgitate it, and it was halfway out, and he was gone. I was like, God, it always has to be. It always has to be like the pinnacle snake too. It's like I don't know if you watch it. I watched Brian Cusco's vlog this morning about his Eastern Indigo sunset. And I was like, I feel horrible because I totally understand that's not a breeding snake for him. I mean, this for me was a huge milestone and a big progression for collection and breeding in that, which I'm redoing the pairing. I can make another one. That's not the point. But I get that feeling where it's like, this is one of your highlight animals in your entire collection, and now it's got some medical issue or it doesn't make it or what have you. So, I never thought I would get upset over a snake, but I did. Got to shout out real quick.
All the time, man.
Got to shout out real quick. HB Reptiles, another $5 for the snake fund. He's hoping at some point, if he super chats me enough, I'll be able to afford something from him. So, no, he's actually been super nice.
Someday.
We did a trade deal on. So I made last year I did a double het Ultramel genetic stripe clutch, and
nice.
and I wasn't going to let any of it go. And he talked me out of one of the pastel super cinnamon females and a normal male. But in doing so, now I have growing up a Spinner Blast Double Head Ultra Glow female. So we've kind of he and I were able to kind of split and come together and now work both projects, which is going to be cool. So
yeah, for sure.
That's the kind of stuff that, people have asked me about this season, if we're going to make anything cool. And I'm sure we will. But this season, I keep telling people, is not going to be as visually exciting as last season was. Last season we hit clowns and pieds and ultramels and hypos and, a bunch of cool combos. And we're still going to get a little bit of that in here and there. But this season for us, because we were able to hit all of our goals that we wanted for last year, this year is about building the collection now. And so we're doing a bunch of double het and combo hets and stuff like that for holdback stuff. So, I'm not making any.
This is year 4 for you.
This will be year 3. Season 3 anyway.
Season 3.
Yeah, and I'm not making any visual ultramels this year because I'm using the male for something else and I'm using the female for a different long-term project that I think will be fun. But we're still going to make clowns and pieds and hypos and that, but it's definitely a little bit more deliberate because I want to. We held back 17 this year. I'd like to see another, maybe 20 or 30 next season that are key long-term females that we can hold up. So,
is your goal someday yourself?
What's that?
No, is your goal someday yourself to want to do this, or just kind of keep it?
Oh God, no.
A side.
Not a chance in hell. No way.
That's.
It's. I think part of it is I'm still so young in the hobby and so new to it. It's hard for me to see the long-term viability. And what I mean by that is when I went and hung out with Justin and he told me his story, or you talk to Brian Barczyk, or you talk to Jay at Prehistoric, or you talk to Kevin McCurley, or any of those guys, and they started 15, 20, 30 years ago when you could sell bananas for $12,000 a piece and crap like that. There was a long-term viability then. Because in my opinion, for 2 reasons, because they were the only game in town. And because it was so new and hot off the press, there was a buttload of money being thrown around. So in my mind, when I look at Justin up to today, it makes sense for him to be full-time because he's put the last 20 years into it. He was on the ground floor on a lot of stuff. And now he's financially in a position where he can be a front runner in a lot of projects. He can buy into any project he wants, that kind of thing. Me starting here today or a couple years ago, it's hard for me to look an additional 20 years forward and say, are we really going to be, are there enough of us with so many more people joining the hobby, which is awesome, are enough of us really going to be able to make long-term full-time money at that level when there's dramatically more animals being produced every year and dramatically more people in the hobby? It's for me, it's just a supply and demand kind of thing. So it's kind of hard to see that market continue on that trajectory. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I kind of look at it just a little bit differently because you hear all these guys over the last 5 years say the ball python business is dead. And, as I was investing heavy and coming up through that, I kind of know what you're saying through this, but you kind of said it best then is he was the only the game in town. And there's a lot more games in town, but Morph Market, is allowing people to just find what they want. Back, even 6-8 years ago, these guys were talking about having to mail pictures to people and wait a week to get them developed, or it was a lot more complicated actually to make deals. So the way I look at it is the things that have made it easy has grown the industry, and I don't know how much bigger the industry can get, but what I do see at the shows, because I never was a show person up till this year, and what I found out is at every show there is about a 9 to 15-year-old boy or girl that comes to my table in waves. I mean, they come by my table in waves. And that old generation of people or parents do not, they're scared of snakes. They're scared of lizards. They're scared of all that stuff still. But this young
Yeah.
generation is not scared. And it's like there's millions of these little girls and little boys that want to own a lizard, a gecko to start with, because they all come by and tell me about their geckos. And then that translates into a ball python when they want to move up or something. But it's like this monster wave of a young generation that I'm still seeing is wanting to be into this. Will it last? I sure hope so. I mean, I'm in it to think that it will for sure. So I don't know. I mean, it's some people I think that it does scare them longevity wise, but I mean, it seems like the guy, a lot of these guys you're talking to, and we've seen it, have been doing this for 15 to 20 years, and it's been nothing but better every year almost.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I look at kind of, I guess, lack of better terms, pessimistically, that it feels like it's a market bubble that has to burst at some point. And I could be totally wrong in that. It might not. It might plateau, kind of even out, but it might not just tank, like the housing market, for instance. And that's hard for me to put that kind of distance on. And, Vivid Scales had a good point here. He said the more people joining full time, the more people wanting higher end animals. And I think this is a subset part of the reason that I likely can't see myself going full time. The big answer to your question is I have a really awesome career that I thoroughly enjoy. I make good money. I've got good benefits. And I've got a good retirement. And so if this can be a supplemental income, that's awesome. And I kind of like the stability of that for me and my family. But in the case of these higher end animal things, I think that and I've said it before on some of my videos, I think that there is an element of this being able to pay to play the game. And what I mean by that is we've already said there is a lot of money out there. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of money changing hands every day in this hobby. And if you look at guys like Miguel is a perfect example that if you decide that you want to make this a full-time gig, you can be seriously competitive and you can make a lot of money doing it. But he had to put a boatload of money up front to make that happen. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I've had people message me and call me and ask about it. And I will never tell anybody, I will never recommend anybody go into debt to start or progress a ball python breeding project. I think that I personally think that's a bad idea. But so I have no idea how much money Miguel's put in, but let's say it's $250,000, right? In the first 3 years. I don't have that backing. He does because of other businesses, his career, his lifestyle. He has the capital to do it. So if you can put $250,000 on the table and buy into really nice, really high quality, high end animals, and then in a year or 2, 3 after that, be producing similar or better in exponentially more volume, then of course you can make a lot of money doing it. But guys like us that have to kind of stepping stone our way into this, I mean, I just 3 weeks ago bought my first 4-figure snake ever.
Gotcha.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the difference is Miguel's going to get to making $1 million a year far faster than I will. And I may never get to that point, but it doesn't mean you can't. It's just we have to do it. We have to build it up from inside. He was able to start from scratch. That's the difference.
Yeah. No, and there's quite a few guys that, $250,000. There's quite a few guys that throw that much money into this every year. That's where all these snakes end up going, Sometimes Absolutely. I shake my head and even say, it's like, where does all these high expensive end snakes go? But then I'll have someone call me up and say, "Hey, I want to buy that $3,500 snake. I'll PayPal you the money right now and ship it on Monday." And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's nothing, and so yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's an industry. This is built into an industry, and there's too many people that I see are passionate about this, to not see it survive for a while. That's for sure.
Okay, well, I have to
It's almost
give.
like an addiction.
Yeah, no doubt. I have to give a shout out here. I don't know if they're still in because this was from about 10 minutes ago, but Daybreak Channel that says, "Good morning from Safari Pythons based in South Africa, 4:30 in the morning their time.
Awesome.
4:30 in the morning
That's
tomorrow.
awesome.
Like that's insane. I don't think I've ever had anybody I've had Billy in here before, but I don't think I've had anybody from overseas, and certainly not from Africa. That's freaking rad.
That's cool. That's cool.
Kenny threw out $5. Says keep up that enthusiasm. I appreciate that, Kenny. And Bearded Balls, he was in my video this week. Threw out $5 just for love. He sent us some magnets up on my door.
Yeah.
You're on this door too. In fact, Bearded Balls is right next to your sticker. So
that's good. Twice. That's good. Good.
I think you're on here twice. I can't remember. And then there was one other I didn't want to miss. Paul. Paul's in everybody's streams. Paul Taylor, $5. I'm gonna take over the world with my $25 normal. You know,
you want to sell me a couple of them, Paul?
You know, that's back to talk. You know, being able to buy high quality, high dollar animals. That's one of the struggles that us, you know, entry level, up and coming breeders and that struggle with is we generally have quite a lot of byproduct that oftentimes doesn't sell. In fact, a buddy of mine, Brian from Sailor Serpents, I don't know if he's in here or not, my tattoo buddy from Ohio, he messaged me the other day because he still has a couple of females from that split clutch he and I did. My black pastel Huffman to his pinstripe hypo. And he's like, man, I just don't get it. You've got these $200 and $300 snakes and I can't freaking move them. Like, that's not a lot of money. And I told him, I was like, that's not unusual at all. I said, I hit 3 male scaleless head pieds this year, and the 2 that I wasn't going to keep were sold before they ever came out of the egg. The high dollar stuff, not the super high dollar stuff, but I'd say that like $600 to $2,000 range, maybe. That kind of market seems like it moves so much faster than the $200 to $500 range. And then obviously the super high end stuff, you know, the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 stuff is harder to move. But I was like, I have a much easier time selling a $700, $800 animal than I do a, you know, whatever it is. I still have Huffman pinstripe head hypos up here that I can't move, you know, and it's like, and obviously with byproduct,
the Huffman thing is cool, but it's definitely something that very few people are into, and it's just kind of a niche deal right now still. Yeah. That
and obviously, you know, part of the issue is you end up, if you get screwed by the odds gods, you end up with a lot of males or something, and it's not you know, it's not an acid clutch where everybody wants a male right now so they can get into the project. You know, I've got 5 freaking het pied males. Like, great. What am I going to do with these? You know what I mean? So.
Well, and you brought that acid up. You know, you were talking about like bringing guys under your wing and trying to give them advice. And, you know, the acid gene is one of those genes that's going to be around for 5 to 10 years and make combos that long that are going to be awesome in every recessive and everything. And it's like, these new breeders, I don't want to see people spend a bunch of money and get discouraged and just go away, because that's not good. So, I mean, I lay it out to some of these guys is, buy you a nice acid male, grow him up, spend $2 to $3 grand on the male if you have to. But then even if you just had like 5 or 8 normal females, I'm talking basic normal females, and you bred them, and that was your first year, a first-year breeder can then put their babies on Morph Market. You don't have to be no special big name, this or that, and people will buy them. And so you at least are getting your foot wet. You're not making a fortune, but you are. If this is something you want to do, it's at least a good starting plan for some people. Buy a nice codon male and just go cheap. You know what I mean?
That's definitely an animal I want to get into. It's just we had a very focused primary goal this year that consumed the overwhelming majority of the money we'd made, and so I had to focus on that. But I just, when we bought the new one, which I haven't unveiled to everybody yet, but the one I sent you that we got recently, when we bought that was obviously a massive investment for us. Like I said, it was the first 4-figure snake we've ever paid or we've ever bought. And I really wanted to get into the acid stuff because I like what it does. And whether I get one from you or not, I'll say one of the places I have been looking at to get one, and I want to have him on here to talk about it anyway, is from Josh Jensen. Because his acid stuff, when I look at the pictures, is so deep and sooty and high contrast and some of the blackest blacks, and they just look phenomenal. But I couldn't in my mind justify spending $2,000 or $3,000 on a simple single or maybe 2 gene codon male. I know that the return on it is there. It's just that was hard for me to swallow. So the one that we did end up buying was a little bit easier, but it's just like, I don't know. And we do this stuff to ourselves all the time. We talk ourselves into and out of projects constantly, trying to overthink it and play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm supposed to these people, they want to get in and they want to make money. They think they can do it in 2 years. Yeah, you can make a little bit of money. Like 2-3 years in, you paid a little bit of money, but it's 5 or 6 years to really do it.
Yeah. Petty Officer John is yelling in the chat, so I have to give him a shout out. I'm hoping it's probably not going to be this year, and I don't want to say that you're always chasing the people ahead of you, because that should never be your goal. I mean, I always tell people, A, breed what you like, and B, don't be chasing the whatever the hot thing is, because when Justin dropped the red stripe clown stuff on everybody, if you started that day breeding towards red stripe clown, unless you already had the pieces in your collection to make them that following season, you're already behind the power curve. So when you see, I tell people, when you see that project come across Facebook or Instagram, you're like, holy crap, that's super cool, I'm going to make those. No, you need to be thinking of that and further, because you're already behind the power curve. When Justin dropped those, we all knew, we just didn't know to what extent that he had the red stripe Batmans were on their way, if not already done, and the red stripe DGs and the the DG clown version and the clown pied version and the whatever were already many years in the making ahead of that plan. So that's my issue, is looking at, I know that acid is one of the acid confusion, and that is one of those that's really really hot, but I have to figure out.
I don't even know if I call it hot. Just, it's a good quality gene.
Yeah, but okay. Where do you think the pricing, if nothing else, where do you think the pricing on that is going to land in the very near future?
So I think just a normal acid confusion. If they're $1,000 right now to $1,200, I still think they're going to be holding close to that this next year. You're still looking at 2 to 3 years before they're probably in the 5 to 7 range. And even at that, if someone still wants to make an income, that's fine. But it's what you can do with that. With the acid, I think with the Desert Ghost, we already can see what it can do with Clown. I think the acid puzzle stuff is going to be amazing. And then no one's even seen it in Ultramel. And I would say that's probably going to be one of the nicest snakes that you can make with Ultramel. So
That's where I
knowing,
want to go.
those
Yeah.
visions I'm seeing, but I haven't seen them yet made. Yeah.
That's where I want to go with it, especially with as dark, like I said, as dark and as contrasty as Jensen's stuff is. I think that and Ultramel should be killer.
It
Is there?
should be. I agree. 100%.
I've never cared to look. Is there a super form? Do you know?
Are you there?
You still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I've never cared to look into it any further. Is there a super form of acid or confusion or static or whatever? Do you know?
That I don't know 100%. I got a picture a couple years ago that was made. That was a super confusion. But I personally think it's going to be like the leopard. If there is a super, you're not going to really be able to tell. It may just be a deeper lines, a darker, maybe a little bit more dramatic pattern would be about it.
Or like the super pin that people claim in that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, probably could be. Yeah.
All right.
I just like the contrast. I like that. I like animals that change the pattern a lot. Because then if you even breed it to animals that are really clean, you at least get something there to look at.
So where do you stand on the Monsoon project? What's your thoughts there?
Okay, so the Monsoon project, I used to really, really, really be on board with that, and it's not that I'm not on board with that. I think it's probably a really nice recessive. I don't own it. I'm going to wait to kind of see what it does a little bit more. It definitely, the couple of things Justin has made has really kind of added some color to it. What I wasn't liking in the beginning, what I was seeing is a normal monsoon and a leopard monsoon and a leopard Mojave monsoon just maybe made a few more dots. You really didn't see any kind of dramatic pattern change. And, maybe it'll start doing more with other combos. Maybe it needs to be cleaned up. I just don't know yet. But, it's definitely a cool gene. I like all the genes out there. Don't get me wrong. But I just have my preferences on what I want to breed with. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So just hypothetically, just because I'm brainstorming here, Champagne Monsoon. What are your thoughts?
Champagne Monsoon. That could be interesting.
Who do you think's going to win in that pattern contest?
Yeah, I never really thought about making that combo. I don't have much champagne in my collection, if any, really. So it's one of those things I just overlook.
I don't have enough, dude.
I love champagne.
I love champagne.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I have none, which is sad, but I love it. Yeah.
That yellow belly mimosa that I made this year is easily the coolest animal I produced all season. I freaking love that thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. And years ago, like 5 years ago, I had a couple champagnes. I made a couple cool things, but that's about it.
We'll got another super chat here from Benevolent Reptiles. What is yours and Jackie's favorite morph? Since we haven't heard from her.
Jackie's favorite morph, I would say is probably the banana stuff. We kind of have a lot of banana stuff. A lot of it I never even show on pictures. Probably won't ever really see them because they're just really nice holdback females. Some of these bananas that we're starting to make with the Orange Dream and the Inchy and Yellow Belly and Asphalt added to it are becoming very amazing with the color and holding it as they get older, which is really nice. And then my favorite gene is probably going to be the Asphalt gene. I think it's still has a lot to show, and I think it's going to be around for a lot of years here. Just making a pastel freeway alone is an amazing animal on the egg. Anybody that hates on that, it's pretty bad. So,
any particular reason you went freeway and not highway?
So in the beginning, the highway stuff and the freeway stuff, I would kind of watch the beginning of that progress. I remember when Todd, I think a lot of his collection, got sold, and I think Billy ended up with a lot of that. But I think Todd, Constable up there in Canada, was making the super asphalt back then, and they were listed like $10,000-$12,000, and they were just really kind of an intriguing animal to watch. And then I seen Breeder Circle down there, Jonathan Foltz. He had some pastel highways, and this was maybe in like 2015 or 16. And I told myself, man, if you could make that pastel highway into a clown or something, some other kind of recessive, that's got to be really amazing. And so then the asphalt stuff came along, and I started watching it. So then I think it was like the next year, I'm guessing, and then I just basically went with asphalt. I seen the color contrast was a little better on the Mardi Gras and things like that. And this was very fresh. Major League had just made them a couple years before. And they were amazing. They wanted like $20,000 for a Mardi Gras, and I just absolutely fell in love with those the day they hatched. And I just was telling myself, make that into a clown, make that into a recessive in some way in the future. And I've been working at it that long, to be honest with you. I bought my first Mardi Gras females back in like 15, 16 range, whatever it was. I think 16. I bought like 6 of them that year, kind of invested heavy and bought a bunch of Mardi Gras females. And they've been giving me these clutches the last couple of years. It's been making all the amazing stuff I've been making. But it was a blessing to get into the asphalt. Yeah. I mean, I love highways, don't get me wrong, but the asphalt definitely is going to hold the color all the way through.
Got a quick plug here from Daybreak Channel again in South Africa. Says thanks for the shout out. Love what you guys are doing in the hobby in the US. We are tiny compared to the States. Owning a snake in South Africa, of all places, is seen as taboo. Kind of crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, you would think where their snakes are prevalent, at least from what I gather. I don't get out much.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm stuck in the country.
Yeah. So we, with a little bit of history of your big game livestock thing and that kind of sheds a little bit more light, but where did the name Ball Python Shed come from? How'd that come to be, and the logo and that? What was your genesis there?
So basically back when I was doing really well on the whitetail and the elk hunts, in 15 and 16, like I said, and late 14, I was investing really heavy. And so I was taking a lot of those profits and buying snakes. The passion really hit me hard, and I wanted to do it. And like I was telling you, I bought those like 6 Mardi Gras all at one time, and pastel Mardi Gras. I even bought like 3 males, and I just went kind of crazy that year, to be honest with you. But so all that stuff was being paid for by the deer, for the most part. And so when it came to really putting a logo into it, the whitetails and the elk have pretty much paid for my livelihood, being, self-employed for the last almost 20 years of my life. So I just incorporated the shed, because deer and elk have a shed. They shed their antlers every year. And so the Ball Python Shed was kind of like a double meaning. You raise your snakes in a shed. Those are the people that don't understand it could still get, that part of it for sure. So, but yeah, a lot of the guys are still today just figuring out the meaning of the shed and the Ball Python Shed.
So it's better than Austin's Ball Shack, right? Can we agree on that? I noticed he hasn't popped in yet to give me shit. Somebody's gonna send this to him, and I'm gonna get flamed for it.
He'll give you some love, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
It's not that bad.
So prying minds want to know. You went from big game to cattle to snakes. So what's the next exotic creepy animal you're gonna keep and breed? Are you gonna move on to monkeys next, or wallabies?
No, I'm definitely pretty happy where I'm at. I'm just going to keep growing the ball pythons for me until I, get to a point or a level where I just say enough is enough on the size. I mean, I had a couple hundred head of cows around, and that was a lot more work than a few hundred head of snakes. So,
I'm
if I
sure.
get to 3, 4, 500 ball pythons here, and I mean, this was my first year to go full time. I had 122 clutches this year, viable clutches. I had a few that, clutches that don't make it, so it is what it is. But
Yeah.
that was my concern when I started this year. And I guess that goes back full circle to what you were talking about long term. I was concerned with the economy and the way everything was going through the COVID thing that we would probably struggle as snake breeders or the reptile industry through all this. And I made 800 babies this year. I kept 150 back for holdbacks as of right now.
Oh my God.
And I have 65. I have 65 babies left for sale. That's it.
Wow. So you were probably,
Yeah.
you probably right there in March, April, May, and that you were probably panicking. This was your first year to go full time. And then,
Yes, I
the first round of stimulus comes out. Everybody sells like hotcakes. I'm down, I'm down to, I don't know, 12, 15, I don't know, something like that left over. And we did 18 clutch or 19 clutches this year. So, no, it's been a bizarre year, if nothing else. We have a recommendation for you here, because I don't know if you've made this yet, because you're known for a lot of things, but you're well known for the dirt road project. That was kind of your baby, which is Cinnamon Spider Freeway, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So Adam Waterbury says if you have an inchy dirt road, you need to call it the Bourbon Street, because it's a dirt road in Mardi Gras.
Okay.
I get where he's going.
That was what my breeder male is that made everything. So
that would be I see where he's coming from. That makes sense. So Chris Sexton picked up on
it's an allelic freeway, basically a double allele.
So Chris picked up on it. Said the look on Jason's face when Josh said 120 clutches. Yeah, I had a hard enough time. I had a hard enough time feeding. Well, I'm still fighting it, but feeding and marketing and selling and moving 19 clutches. 120 sounds miserable.
Was that Chris
I can't imagine. Yeah, Chris Sexton. Yeah. So you said how many breeder females are you up to now? How many breeder females are you up to at this point? You there?
I seen your eyes get big too.
Can you still hear me?
I think I've lost you.
Yeah, I think we dropped him off here.
There we go.
You got me now?
What was the last question? Sorry.
You kind of disappeared into the ether there for a minute. Chris said you were looping. You kind of got stuck in a replay. So no, I was asking how many breeder females are you up to at this point?
I think there's around 260, 270 range that should breed this year.
And where do you think your comfort zone is? Where are you trying to get to?
I would say probably I could easily handle 2 times that.
Okay, so you want to be in that 200 to 300 clutches a year market, something like that?
Yeah, I think that 200 guaranteed 200 clutches a year would be basically perfect for what I want to do. Because like right now, this 4 to 5 months, I'm not going to really have a lot to sell. And if I still had a really nice, viable amount of good stuff to sell, it would definitely sell. So,
yeah. It's and everybody's got to find that spot, whatever that number is. I think for us,
yeah.
I mean, there's there's 30 females in these racks here, and we did 19 clutches last year. I think if I could get to about 30 consistently, 30, maybe 35 clutches a year, I think that's probably comfortable for us. So I'm thinking in that 45 to 60 female range, somewhere in that market.
I mean, with your job, that would be great. Absolutely.
Yeah, because like we said, I have no desire to make it full time, and I don't want this to become a labor. I don't want it to become a job. I want to enjoy coming in here to do the work, to check on the animals, to deal with the eggs, that kind of thing. And I think, that, and I've got a almost 5-month-old daughter now too. So I've got that I've got to contend with. And,
sure.
Obviously that comes first, but the prospect of something in a 10 by 16 room being able to produce an average household income as a side project. So, I mean, that's, why wouldn't we want to try it? You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, and that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing when it actually comes down to it, because like we've talked, I've been in the cattle business, couple hundred head of cows around all the time. And, the elk and the deer, I had hundreds head of those at one time. And you just explained it. I mean, the amount of money you can make, and you're basically, the way I look at these, most of these females is, this is definitely my passion, but every female that's in this rack is almost like having a beef cow standing out there. But look how many you can have in a 10 by 10 room, like you just said.
Okay. So Kenny had a question for you, and I was going to hold out because I just saw his message come up, says, don't make me send a super chat for questions. I was going to hold out and see if he actually did it, but I got his question here. It says, we need a little blood here. So what gene are you absolutely not putting money into? What have you sworn off?
Sworn off completely.
I get the feeling there's a little bit of history with this question between you and Kenny, but
I wouldn't say no. There's probably really not a history. Because I like what almost everything does. And some of my friends are in genes and things that I probably will never invest in. But it's not something I've sat here and said, no, I'm not doing it 100%. I'll think about that one for a minute. I'll definitely.
Okay, well,
Ron, I have never thought about that.
Ron Compton brought up the elephant in the room, so to speak. Where are you at on the scaleless thing?
Okay, so the scaleless thing I did real well with for a few years, and I got in position. I had some breeder size females that were scaleless heads and got to where I could have made full scaleless snakes this last year. But I kind of am just focusing on my projects, and a lot of that is the asphalt and bringing everything into it. And then I have a couple other things that I have, and the acid stuff, get that into everything. So basically I had a couple people make me some offers on all the full scale or the scaleless head stuff, because that was something that they really wanted to do. And mine were adults and ready to go, like my het clowns. They want to make full scaleless clowns. So I just kind of just let the project go for the most part.
So where do you stand in the controversy? Where do you stand on the viability? What's your opinion? What's your thought?
So I was told that the full scaleless clown may not be viable. From what I'm seeing, though, is I'm seeing some people post pictures of them. I don't know if they've ate, if they're doing well, but I can't see them not being a viable snake, just like a full scaleless. They are recessive, but they're basically they're just a scaleless snake again.
Yeah, and that's something I mentioned to people before, because we obviously hit our first scaleless this year, and she is for sale, because who wouldn't want to, in my scale, wouldn't want to put that kind of money back into the collection. But if she doesn't sell, I'll be happy to keep her, because A, it's our first scaleless, and B, I'd like to get it and try it myself. But the controversy seems to be that people are convinced that the females are not getting to age for whatever reason, or are not going to be able to lay eggs. And my counter to that statement is because they're worried about the stretching and that kind of thing. My counter to the statement is the skin that we see on the scaleless is still there under a normal scaled snake. And every one of us has seen them when they ovulate, when they're laying, when they've had a big meal, whatever, and they stretch. The scales stretch and separate to where you can effectively see the same skin that we're seeing in the scaleless. So we know that skin stretches. So from what I understand, and I'll probably do a solo video on this because we have one now. I'm hardly an expert on this, but I have talked to a few people that are heavily invested into this project, and I have it on good authority that this season, we should see 2, maybe more females, full scaleless females on eggs. And there's 2 things going on that's caused this controversy to build and taken so long. Is, first of all, they do in fact take longer to grow, because and I've proved this with mine. Every time I feed her, and she'll eat anything I put in front of her face. I could probably put a small rat in there and she'd try,
They're good eaters.
They're a great eater. But the thing is, as soon as they eat, a day or 2 later, they're in shed again. So because of that, unless you get one that will eat in shed, you're oftentimes missing every other meal or every third meal or what have you. And so that obviously slows their growth process. So it takes them an extra year or 2 to get to breeder size that are comfortable. Then part of the additional issue from there is, once all of this controversy started up and all of the misinformation or the stories or the theories or whatever around Barcheck, Scaleless, and what happened with all that, I don't know any of the stories. If we get them on, I'm certainly going to ask. But is the people that had the ones that were getting to size and had a lot of money invested in the project, it seems that a lot of them are holding off until somebody does it. Because if they do have a problem, if it proves to be like caramel, or desert rather, where it's going to kill the female in the process, why would they risk this animal that they've got, how many thousands of dollars invested into just to try it? So they're waiting for somebody to make the first move and prove it works, and then they'll go do it. Is what I'm understood is happening.
Yeah. Which, if the person has a full scaleless female and she's setting on 6 eggs, post the picture.
Absolutely.
What is there to hide? Yeah. Some of that part of this business is really kind of weird, and I don't know why people do that. If you have a project you're trying to hide, perfectly fine. I get that. You can talk about it, drop your hints, whatever, but the scaleless is nothing to hide. Let's just see it, really. I mean, it's like the full scaleless clown. I was told, actually, the first one was made 2 years ago. I don't know if that's true. I didn't see the picture of it, but they say it was, and I believe the person that told me. So, but they kept it hid the whole time. Why, I do not know. I mean, I think if they came out and they fed it and it's viable and it's awesome, that just helps that project even more, which then in turn helps us all even more.
Well, absolutely. And then there was a few months ago that surfaced those pictures of the 2 scaleless clowns that were recently produced that I saw.
Yep.
But there was like 0 information about it. The pictures were horrendous, really poor quality, and there was no follow-up to it. So you're like, what's the story here? And everybody's being so super secretive about everything with it. And it makes it all that does.
And maybe some of those people are not really secretive. They're kind of people that have just been in it for a while. I mean, I'll kind of use it for example. Me, I mean, if I make some really cool snake, I'm not going to just post it right on Facebook that day. But I'm not going to really keep it a secret either. I'm just going to be like, hey, this is what I made. And then someday it'll hit Facebook after a few people say, dude, you should post that, you know? And I'm like, okay, I will. So.
Yeah, and I think if nothing else, the lack of information or the people that are involved that are being deliberately secretive about it, all that does is lend credence to the people that are claiming it's a botched program. You know, until somebody definitively comes out and says, no, here's the proof, you guys are all wrong, all we have to go on is the fact that nobody will step up and show it. You know, it's the
this business is fairly controversial.
Oh, no doubt, absolutely. But it's that same, you know, it's that same he who has nothing to hide hides nothing theory, and I think that that's a big part of the issue.
The first person that probably will post a picture of a full scaleless on eggs will probably get a bunch. They'll get 400 comments. 200 of them will be haters, and 200 of them will congratulate them. And
absolutely.
So you just got to kind of just go with it for the most part.
All right. I typed in the chat a little bit ago to get because we're coming up on an hour and a half here. To get some people's questions, I wanted to fire away at you and see what you thought. Where'd it go? I just lost it. What the hell? Oh, I know what happened. Right here. Punk Rocker Ball Pythons asked top 5 starter morphs under $500 if you were going to start building a collection today.
A banana female under $500 or right at $500. I would probably buy a banana female or two. Because you can work anything into that and get your male makers that are, you know, just your normal gene stuff and under $500. I think the asphalt gene is $500 just for a normal asphalt. So I probably would go something like that just because I'm biased that way. And then probably a desert ghost.
I was just going to say yeah, you could get
a cheaper inchy one or something.
Yeah, and depending on if you were starting from scratch, literally from scratch, obviously you want to start with your females, and you can get into female pieds under $500 pretty easily, and female clowns maybe with a gene or two in there, and get a visual or two of a
probably even go ultra male over those two these days as females. Yeah.
I certainly don't have enough ultra male in my collection.
I think ultramel is probably going to be one of the good ones to have over the next 5 years. Not a lot of people worked into it, and from what we're all seeing, it's really nice stuff. So, hopefully that answers his question somewhat.
Yeah, that should definitely help. Okay, so Vivid Scales called it because this is something I wanted to tee you up on and see what you think. Where are you on the Trick Hurricane Blitz debacle?
Really, it's I kind of know what I know, and I've been told the history. I've seen the kind of the messages and some of the history, and I think that it's all exactly the same. I don't think you'll convince me any different. I think, the people that say it's a lilac, perfect, you can say that, but that's almost just an excuse because the super pops out and you're saying it's a lilac. So, if the supers pop out, they're the supers. So that's just my opinion. There's going to be people that probably differ from that, but when all the animals look identical and do identical things, even the clowns down to the head stamp are the same. So, it's just... But I love what it does. I don't dog the gene on what it does. No. I just don't... What I don't like about it is... I guess it's not that I don't like it. It's just Hans, when he put out the hurricane information, which I understand what he was doing, promoting his gene, he also put out a chart that lists the Trick and Blitz and how it can't be a super. So when supers come out, you're really kind of contradicting exactly what your chart says. You kind of got to just, I don't know. admit defeat at some point.
So yeah, so that was my next question. It's kind of a two-part question here. If you were going to, if somebody came to you and wanted to work that project because they like what it did, I want to work it, to be honest with you. I like the stuff, and
yeah, I like it too. I'm gonna
and
work
they had
it. Yeah.
and they had the money to spend, would you deliberately deter them from spending hurricane money today when you could buy an equal nice trick or blitz from somebody else?
If you're an established breeder, I'm not going to give you my opinion. I'll let you make that. But if you're a new breeder and you're coming into this and there's a trick clown and there's a hurricane clown side by side on Morph Market, yeah, I'm going to tell you to buy the trick clown, especially if there's a $2,000 price difference. Now, if they're just $500 apart and the hurricane name is what everybody wants to do, like acid, confusion, static, the static stuff. I mean, really, most people, I'll just be honest, don't even pay attention to it. And it is the same stuff. The acid confusion is the hot names. So if it's the name thing and recognition, that's then what or the marketing as you bought it as a hurricane, go with it. That's perfectly fine. I get that. We just kind of all have to recognize if it's, making supers like it is, then it's the same thing.
So let me ask you this, because this is something that my wife has not understood, how I can come in here and rattle off these genes and I can say we're putting this male to this female and this is all the possible combinations we can come up with and these are what the combo names are called. Like I'm like Rain Man with some of this stuff. But admittedly, if you're a new breeder coming into this and you're scrolling Morph Market and you're scrolling World of Ball Pythons and that, it can be extremely overwhelming because of the sheer number of gene names that we have. So how do you feel? I'm just proposing an idea here. How do you feel about getting guys like John Lehman and Phil Goss and some of like the figureheads of the hobby community together to form a committee to pick one name and standardize it in these groups of genes that are all duplicates? Pick banana or coral glow, pick lesser or butter, pick hurricane trick or blitz, pick acid static or confusion, and then standardize it across the board, level the price differential between the few that are different, and just try to reduce the overall name pool for new people coming in to keep things cleaner and simpler. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying for the new people, because that's got to be confusing for them. Because I talk to people at the shows all the time and have no idea that static is basically the same thing as acid confusion, whatever. So I pretty much try to tell people what I think is the same and what I don't think is the same. I think there's some genes out there right now guys are promoting that are exactly the same thing as some other stuff, and they're promoting it as new genes. And it's not. It's just not. There's duplicates about all that stuff out there. But I'm not going to be the guy that's, I got into this hurricane trick thing because basically I'm just didn't agree with what was being said, because everything that was being said was being contradicted and, being proven wrong. So I just was kind of maybe looking out for the small guy on that, I guess I could say, not getting caught up and paying $10,000 for a hurricane clown if it's the same, and I mean, if it does identically the same, why would you pay 10 grand for a clown, even if it's allelic? You know what I mean? It just doesn't even make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just overwhelming. And it's funny because like the banana coral glow thing, and I'm going to have Kevin on here at some point because I want to hear his side of that story. You know what I mean? But I have all bananas in my collection. And in all honesty, if I ever bought a coral glow from somebody, it would probably get labeled a banana because I just like the name better. It's like I don't own any coral glows because I don't understand the name. No, it's something I thought of as, I just thought it was something it was funny that, you have the possibility, you could whittle down so many. And let me ask you this, as somebody that is working what sounds like will be a legitimate dinker project, new gene, do you think that we have found all of the genes that we're going to, or are we going to keep pulling stuff out of Africa that's going to be another stranger that people are going to say, no, that's another mahogany, or that's a raven, no, that's a chocolate. You know what I mean? Like, are we done finding the new genes?
I think we're already doing that. I mean, the Wookiee gene has now come on, and the Super Wookiee, and it looks like the Wookiee gene is its own legit deal, but you cannot tell. I mean, really, if you probably laid 5 Wookiees on a table, they would probably look like 5 chocolate combos. So, you know, if you took those away and laid the chocolates down and brought someone in that hadn't seen them all, that's what they would call them. But they do react a little bit differently, and they do some stuff differently. So, yes, I think there's going to be quite a few new genes found over the years. Are there going to be genes that totally act way different than most things? I don't know. It's going to be difficult. There's almost every dramatic change in pattern out there. There is one, I'm not trying to give him a shout out, but one I've been watching is Bob's Voodoo gene. I'm a big acid confusion type guy. I like genes that change pattern, leopard, spot nose. You know, I think that's why Justin probably went with a lot of that stuff over the years because it makes cool pattern. But it looks like Bob's Voodoo gene definitely has a lot of potential to, you know, do something someday and be a good quality gene down the road. So
Cool. Lucky 7 Reptiles wants to know, are you going to grow your beard out?
No, I can't get that. It's almost to the point where it's curling into my lips and driving me nuts. I'm licking my lips now.
I feel you. I can't grow a beard anyway.
But... No, I'm weak. Oh, I just can't hang.
Just make sure I got. Here's an interesting one because this is a project that I'm actually into that I really like. Where do you see the DG market going?
I think that's going to be the market in the next 3 to 5 years. It looks like Desert Ghost, Puzzle, Ultramel will probably fall in behind that. The Pieds and Clowns are always going to sell and always do well because everybody wants to be into it to add to stuff. But I think visible Desert Ghost females, Ultramel females, Puzzle females. I mean, I don't know that you can't not sell them all that you make every year. You just got to make them.
So, you're team Ultramel, not Team Monarch in this case?
I just want to see what the Monarch Ultramel cross does. I mean, if it definitely looks like something different, then it's probably going to be pretty cool. But to be honest with you, that's just one gene I have not paid much attention to. I've seen a couple people that have it, you know, but and seems like they're doing pretty good things with it. But I'm watching it, that's for sure.
And what about I just recently, I think it was just this week, found and learned. I can't remember whose page I saw it on, but I just learned about the Burgundy Albino, the VPI line that looks similar to the Ultramel stuff. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't actually. I haven't really paid much attention to that. Huh.
Yeah, I guess from it's like the early 2010s, 12, 14, right in there. My understanding from what they tell me is it's a similar but different line of Ultramel. But I honestly had never heard anything of it, so it's obviously not, a lot of notoriety.
There's NoaMel. The line I work with is more of the NoaMel line, and then actually the nicest Ultramel line I've seen out there, the nicest stuff is the stuff Daniel Allison has.
It's Daniel's, his wicker stuff.
Yeah, his Ultramel line. I mean, it's way better than anyone's. Period. Yeah.
Well, so from what you've seen in that stuff, because you've probably looked into it deeper than I have, do you think that his Wither line Ultramel, his Wither stuff, is a separate gene, or is that just a really nice line bred version of Ultramel?
I would say that's just a really, really nice Ultramel line. It may be like a different line of Ultramel, but it's really nice. I mean, it's just like Orange Dream. I mean, you can find some Orange Dreams that are really nice expressions, and then the babies carry through genetically. So I
Yeah.
just think he's bred that line, and he's continuously bred those lines together, and it's definitely just consistently that they're consistent. So yeah,
Yeah, his stuff is gorgeous. It's it's
it is.
it's no different. It's no different than like John Doug's Axanthic stuff. He's done so much work getting every
Yeah.
bit of brown out of those and make them as high contrast as possible. Some of his Axanthic stuff's just killer. It's
beautiful to walk up to his table.
Oh, I bet. We're hoping
Yeah.
all goes as planned and the society pulls its head out and COVID goes away. We're going to be at Arlington, or we're going to be at Tinley in October. So we're hopefully going to make the trip finally.
Good.
And I really want to see his table. That's definitely one I got to check out.
Yeah.
Paul Taylor's just trying to start fires. So now do cinder and mahogany.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so no, really, there's not really much controversy there. From what I've seen, is the super cinder is basically a mahogany, super, Suma. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the difference in the Suma and the, so. If down the line they do a couple things that are different, if people really think they are different, I haven't seen it yet. I've seen variations of things, but I see variations in everything. So
yeah,
I hatch Mardi Gras in the same clutch that don't look nothing the same, and they're litter mates. So you see the variations and everything.
Harry Roman threw a super chat out, says, do you have any gypsy in your collection?
I do not.
That's not one I even know about. Do you know about it?
No, I've heard about it. But there's a few things out there I'm kind of watching. I mean, there's like David Levinson showed me some pictures of some Joppa stuff that was really nice one night when we were sitting around talking. It's not something I've paid attention to in the past, and I kind of liked what I seen. So I'm just kind of watching a few of these things. So over the years, now that my collection's big enough, I can kind of just grab a gene if I need to and add it in and really make it work. I don't have to wait forever, which is kind of nice. I kind of have the ability to do that now.
Well, that adds another one that I was curious about, and it kind of goes hand in hand here with what Kurt's Creature says. He says, if you're new to the hobby, stick to genes you can identify, and this is a policy that I have taken on here, because since I'm not going to have 300 animals, obviously I can't be into all of the projects, and so we have kind of determined here that if I look at a gene or I see something available and I just don't get it. I mentioned this last week talking to Lindsay. If I see something that I just don't understand, I don't get into the project. Perfect example is red gene, ringer gene. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to see it. I don't know what it does, so I don't bother.
And I don't either. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I have a red gene female, and that was the way I bought her. This was like 5 years ago, and she definitely is kind of have like a little red tint to her. Nothing really too crazy, just basically a normal. And I made some spot nose red gene stuff out of them that were het clown, and I sent those or sold those to a guy, and he made some red gene clowns that are definitely different. But when you start throwing in this ringer gene, red gene, ringer gene, I don't even know what it is, or if that is actually just real. Is it even, sometimes I'm like, is this just like red gene, ringer gene part of the name, or is there actually a ringer in? Is it real? I don't understand it.
Oh man. Okay, I'm scrolling back through the comments, and I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to keep up. I'll get back to some of these in a second, but guess who just dropped the super chat in here? the main man himself. His ears must have been bleeding that he heard somebody talking about hurricanes, so he had to come visit. Hans. I am honored that
Hey,
you stopped by.
I give the hurricane as much shout out, as much
Abs-
controversy. So
Absolutely,
nobody can say different.
I am honored you stopped by, Hans. That's fantastic, and thank you for the super chat. We're all friends here. I
Thank you,
just like
Hans.
stirring the pot. But no, he asked about Harry asked about that gypsy, and it's I watch Billy's videos all the time, and we talk about not working with genes you don't understand. And I was looking at his available snakes the other day, and he talks about these Java pieds or Java, us here in America, and Malum, whatever the hell that is. And I keep like he tries to explain him. He tries to explain him in his video. I don't see any of it. I just don't. I don't understand.
I don't either. And it's not his video, because I'll be honest, I didn't even watch it. But just in the past, trying to research that, because I thought that stuff maybe I looked at that 5-6 years ago and was trying to watch the Malum, or I guess that's what you call it, and there are a few people that have showed some stuff. I'll be honest, in some posts that you can kind of see that there is a little bit of different things going on there, but actually, what does it do? I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay, so Kurt's Creatures came back again, and I don't think these are necessarily price equivalent, but dollar for dollar, female maker male or female banana.
Both. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Really
that's
the only way to go. I mean, if you're going to have a male, you breed with a female maker. If you're going to have female banana, you have females, you have female bananas. But I've never bred with a male maker ever. So that's why my collection is full of female makers and female bananas. Yeah.
Well, see, and that's part of the problem, because our very first snake is a male maker male. And so,
yeah, I get that.
I have to keep him because he's our first. He's a pet. But I don't breed him because I'm like, I don't want a bunch of male bananas I'm going to sell for $150. That sounds awful. So,
well, and if someone just wants to make bananas and that's what their passion is, to make bananas, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Well, and I have that female banana Phantom yellow belly I picked up from you. That will likely be ready. Not this. Well, she's not breeding now, but maybe at the end of this year. And I'm halfway tempted to because I sold our male banana pied that we had originally, our proven breeder. I sold him and turned around and bought a near breeder ready female making male banana pied for the same reason, because I wanted to start making some female banana pieds I can put aside and some female banana het pied combos and that kind of thing. I am halfway tempted to put them together at some point and make female super banana het pied combos that I can set aside, because I mean everything that I hit will be every super I hit will be a female, which would be rad. And obviously then your supers will throw all bananas. Half of them will be girls and half of them will be female making males, which should be killer. So I don't know what Phantom does in pied. That's the only thing I'm concerned about, because I know that the blue-eyed Lucy complex stuff turns pieds white, but I don't know if Phantom does the same.
Yeah, that I don't know. I just guess I haven't paid much attention to the Phantom pieds. Yeah, banana pieds are awesome.
Okay, here's one I don't know about. Kenny's got another one for you here. Do you know anything about copper?
Another mahogany. No, I really don't. I haven't paid any attention to the copper gene. Can you ask where that comes from?
Yeah, Kenny, if you're still in here, drop another comment in here. I'll get to it in a second. What the story is on the copper gene.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah. Man, my brain's going
on this mahogany stranger, controversy, and I have the stranger, I bought into it. Jason Amos definitely hooked me up there, and so it's just I'm taking my chances, and if it ends up being mahogany at the end of the day, I guess some people are going to breed some stuff together to try and find out for sure, because there are some things that look alike. But I also have some very good examples of things that don't look alike at all. So I think that's going to be one of those things that, just maybe some things that do look alike and don't look alike.
So I was going to ask too, because a lot of my chat here, a lot of people in my chat overlap with Billy's chat, and then Billy's video on Monday, or his live stream on Monday, we were poking fun, admittedly, at this person. But do you know anything about, and do you have any thoughts on Justin's Peach project?
The Peach Project, I have not paid any attention to at all, to be honest with you. I've seen the few pictures that he posted, and it did some maybe a little bit of brightening and some things to some stuff, but he did just put out a project that I am pretty intrigued about. It was the Redhead Project, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and those clowns that he made are actually really, really nice combos. So I think that there's some real potential there, to be honest with you. But the Peach thing, I didn't pay enough attention to it. There's probably going to be some really nice stuff that he makes because he has the females and the power to make it. But it wasn't something that just caught my eye, and I wanted to get into it right off the bat. So.
Yeah, we were kind of joking. I say they were kind of joking on the podcast that certain people had dropped large amounts of money on the Peach Project when Justin first announced it, and nothing has happened since. And we're like, maybe Justin realized that there's nothing there and just shelved it, and now this dude is stuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and some people like to get in on the ground floor of anything that's new, and they're willing to invest, and that's perfectly fine too, just as long as everybody kind of knows what they're doing. And
yeah, for sure.
Anymore being in this and trying to pay attention as much as I can. Like you said, there's a few little things we've talked about tonight that have caught up I haven't really heard about, but a lot of the stuff that's out there right now, I'm happy with what I have and moving forward with it and just focusing on a lot of the stuff that's already available. There could be something really cool show up someday, but as of right now, it would be very, very hard to get me into a new gene. I get people who send me pictures all the time of new African imports and want me to jump in with them and promote it. I have no interest at all, to be honest with you, and it's only because I'm so focused on what we have now and just trying to make that work, because so much of it hasn't even been done with what we have now. So
yeah. So let me ask you this, and see if you can clarify the projects here, because I think there's two different things going on here. Lonnie Wilson mentioned DG is going to be worthless as Extreme overtakes it. Now, before you answer that, I know there's something called the Extreme gene, and then there's Ken Masick's like Extreme, or the Extreme gene, whatever it is. That one is like a het tri-stripe kind of thing, and I guess the other is like DG. Like, what do you know about these and the fact that the two names are way too close to be confusing?
I haven't paid enough attention to it, obviously, as Lonnie has. He's doing some homework over there, so I'll have to get with Lonnie and see what he's talking about. But, I have seen these combos, some of this stuff that you're talking about that Ken's made.
Or Extremist, but that's Ken's.
Yeah. But as far as like trying to say it'll take it over, which I know he's probably in some way being sarcastic here, but Desert Ghost, he's probably, Justin made the video. It's the number one gene out there. And if you're going to compare something to recessive, I say it all the time, and I don't try to downgrade genes, but if you're going to have an adult female at, 2,500 grams and you need to sell her as an adult someday, and you have a sunset there that doesn't have any pattern, and you have a beautiful Desert Ghost laying there, it's going to be pretty easy to sell the Desert Ghost.
There you go. I just
look at it long term. That's it.
Yeah.
Long term. So
that's wise words from a veteran. That's for sure. All right. Kenny sent me another super chat. We'll get to him real quick, but I do want your quick 30-second response to Rainbow.
It looks like the rainbow stuff is pretty nice, but it's virtually a nicer, cleaner version of a recessive banana.
Banana, exactly.
Basically. Yeah, yeah. And even Ultramel does a lot of that stuff. I've seen some stuff JT made in the past that you couldn't tell the difference between the Ultramel combo and a banana combo on looks at all. So,
Yeah.
but then there's some that just look totally different in the riches of the colors and things. So, you know, those things are all going to kind of overlap and have the same kind of looks on things too.
I'll make a quick side comment real quick. Ron Compton just screaming Stormtrooper. That's not actually a gene. That is a one-of-one anomaly that cannot be reproduced, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Really cool animal. And I saw a picture on John's Instagram. She's was on eggs this year, the Stormtrooper.
Okay.
So that was super rad. She's almost solid black now, which is crazy. So Kenny threw it out, another super chat. So let's talk cryptic and krypton. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so let's talk it. So it's obviously real. The one thing I'm not understanding is that I have seen pictures of the guy overseas that actually posted a picture of a cryptic clown, and I didn't know that that was supposed to actually be possible. So
It's not that I understood anyway.
And the clown was definitely something different. Maybe he didn't know exactly he had a gene in there or something, but it was a pretty cool looking clown that definitely had some wicked pattern to it. So what we're thinking, or what I see, is I have cryptic in my collection. I bred clowns to a couple females this last year and popped out some stuff that's kryptons, or you know, whatever this is. But for the most part, I've paid just enough attention to it to kind of see what it is, what it's doing. Notice I have it, but it's not something at this point that I'm chasing or trying to get into my collection. Because like we've talked, I can kind of add some things if I need to. I just want to see what it's doing. The combos that the guys are claiming that they're making are really cool. I will say that. Fireball down there is making some awesome stuff with cryptic in it. So yeah, we'll see what happens with it for sure.
Well, and you know, it's frustrating, and I think it's more so because it's not happening to me, if I'm being honest. But it seems like when something like this happens, you know, Will Morose starts ironing it out and comes out with some really good definitive info. Billy does a whole thing on it, tries to explain how they work. You know, Fireball does a whole thing on it, and then all of a sudden, all of the smaller collections, you know, the people with you know, that make 50 clutches and less, all of a sudden it's magically, oh, I have it in my collection too. It's popping up here and I've got it there. And I see some of these posts and videos and stuff. I'm like, okay, that seems way too easy for that to just work that way. But I'm also jealous that I don't have any, you know, magically.
Well, I think it just took someone identifying it, because it looks like for the most part, if you have 100+ animals in your collection, or 80+ over the last 5 years, you probably have it in there if you've been breeding clowns. Because everybody that I talk to has almost popped up having it in somewhere in their collection. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna kind of rapid fire a couple of these so I can get caught back up to here.
Yeah.
So, in Kenny's opinion, Cinder is mahogany. So we can just let that sit. Where did I see his answer to our question? I don't even want to touch this one.
I have no information on this one.
I am scheduling for.
Okay, so you asked me earlier, are there 2 genes, and I'm not trying to dog these, that I probably will never invest in and not get into will be these.
Yeah, you know, I'm already working with Jeremy, and that I am going to have Kevin on here, and I'll probably have Jeremy on with him. And this is something I want to dig on. I want to know the fader. I want to know odium. I want to know Kevin's, you know, where he's at and what he's seeing with this stuff. So we'll get to that
there may be some great stuff made with this, but what I've learned is in this business is if you're selling things, you have to explain it to people.
You have to be able to show
I have to explain this every time I sell it, it's not worth it.
Exactly. Yep. Shannon really quick said that she cannot wait to get a banana clown female from you. So got that one coming.
So good.
Let's see here.
Everybody's got goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Shannon.
Full throttle threw it up again. We already kind of touched on this. Stranger, the same as mahogany. We're gonna stand currently as I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think actually, and I try to be one of those guys that are pretty cutthroat, honest about genes. I don't really care, I mean, the controversy. So I truly think it is different right now.
Okay. Kenny came back. He said copper is another mahogany in Europe. So that's probably going to prove out to be the same thing, it sounds like.
I'm going to look at that, Kenny. Thank you.
It sounds like we read her mind before I read her question. So because we already answered that. Oh, okay. So follow up here. Kenny actually says more in line with cinder for copper, but again, we're accepting that they're all the same. Okay. So something to look into.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. Besides the acid static confusion thing, Codom investment. What are you thinking?
Stranger.
You think that's got the legs still?
Yeah. I mean, even if it doesn't have the legs, I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that, maybe it's not mahogany. But if it does prove out to be mahogany, I've told myself that I'll still do really well with the mahogany stuff if it is that, because it's still very valuable. And if it is this, then it even is that much better. So
yeah, and it still has. I mean, from the stuff that I saw, like Jason making that is. It does some pretty wild stuff, and the way it pulls the pattern up off the belly, and how freaking dark it is, and that it is something that I do admire. It's just well out of our investment range at the moment.
Yeah, so. I don't know if Bob's even selling those things, but probably the next investment I will make will probably be the Voodoo Gene. I mean, just because of what I'm seeing it's doing, I really like it.
Okay, we'll do this one real quick. Lone Wolf Reptiles. He's been around my channel for a long time. Thoughts on Nanny? He spelled it wrong, but I know what it says.
The Nanny gene looks like it's really promising. I got into it early, so I kind of got into it, probably too early, and did my little thing with it. And I made some world's first, and they were beautiful. And then I just got focused in my own direction of doing other stuff. And there was a couple other guys like Kenny that was doing really well and really good with the Nanny. So I just kind of let those guys roll with it. And it looks like looks like there's a lot of interest in it right now.
Okay. Nick Bennett says you're not allowed to talk shit about Sunset. So
I talk shit a little bit of every gene, even if I like it or not. So
and I've mentioned this on lives before. First of all, I'm not in the market for Sunset. I can't afford it. That aside, I have yet to see somebody make a Sunset combo that beyond 500 grams blows my socks off.
Yeah.
That's my issue.
I agree to that.
And I've said before, I think people are going the wrong direction with it. I honestly believe that they're putting it in, they're putting it with all the darker stuff,
clown.
cinnamon.
I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, clown is clown, just make another brown. Yeah, I mean, it is the clown did the hottest way to go theoretically, but Desert Ghost and Puzzle, all that stuff's going to do so much better for it.
I think the Sunset Ultramel is going to be electric because it's going to let those reds and oranges really come to life.
And the full scaleless Sunset is probably going to be pretty nice.
So is the scaleless Ultramel, by the way.
Yeah.
I might have just spilled the beans on a long-term project. What? I just want to make sure I grab everybody here. Chris checked out, but that was about 10 minutes ago, so I missed it. If you're still here, Chris, take care. Thanks for stopping by.
And just because I say something, that's just the way I am moving forward with the way I do it. You know, everybody has their own opinion about everything. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, the chat has devolved to lemon lime being a different line of Sprite, and 7-Up is allelic, and it's just going to hell.
This is good. This is good.
We're over the 2-hour mark
in the morning Arlington talk, so here we go.
Yep. We're past the 2-hour mark. That's when the wheels come off.
Yeah.
Man, we're probably long in the tooth here at this point, but you got anything else for me? Like anything else you need to get off your chest?
No,
you got any bridges to burn while you're here? Like,
no, actually, I'm having a blast. To be honest with you, it's been very humbling experience over the last 5 or 6 years to be involved with this industry. I just wish I could do more, and I enjoy helping people. It's fun. Yeah,
that's cool, man.
If there's anything anyone needs to know, just hit me up.
yeah, and apparently we need to start talking to Lonnie because he's got all the info. It sounds so.
Lonnie's a good guy. Yeah. He's a researcher for sure.
I'm gonna give it about another 5 minutes or so. If anybody wants to throw any quick comments back in here or any questions that we didn't get to, I'm down to the end now, so I'm all caught up in that regard. While we wait for that, do you have anything aside from ball pythons that you work with or want to?
You know, not really right now. I mean, basically the ball python business has kind of just allowed us to kind of enjoy what we're doing around the farm. You know, we do the snake thing. Jackie, you know, does most all the cleaning on all the snakes, and you know, I do the marketing and the breeding, and you know, we work pretty good as a team. And so in our time off, we take our kids hunting and fishing. I mean, that's really what we do. And there's, you know, at this point, that's kind of what we're enjoying. I mean, you know, there may be something that we want to do a little bit later, but as of right now, we're just kind of enjoying this.
Yeah, no, it's if nothing else, you know, all the bickering and controversy and politics and all that crap aside, it's been a really a fun community to get into for sure, you know, and there's plenty of big players out there that are more than willing to help, and you just have to be, if you're new on the scene, you have to understand it. And I'm by no means a big player in the game, but I have a following now substantial enough that I'm starting to feel that these guys get dozens or hundreds or thousands of messages a week, sometimes even in a day. And so, you know, if you send Josh a message or you send Billy a message or whatever, and you don't get a response back, don't take that as that these guys are just above us. They don't care about you. They're not going to help, whatever. I can attest, and can most in the chat here, that Josh is willing to help with anything when he gets a chance. When I started contacting Josh, he was still working on the farm. And so I was getting responses like, I have no cell service and I'm up to my knees in cow shit. I'll get back to you when I can. But
that's what it was then. Yeah.
You know, but no, all in all, it's a fun gig, man. And for somebody who was adamantly afraid of and anti-snake 5 years ago, like the fact that I'm surrounded by 100 plus sitting here, and you know, there's a 7-footer down here on this bottom row, and it's like, it's just been really cool, and it's been really inviting, and it's fun to watch the next. I mean, I've only been in it 4 years, but it's fun to watch the next wave start up underneath. You know, they come to my channel and learn how to build racks and starting their own rodent population, stuff like that. And it's like, that's super cool, man. That's the whole point, you know, because the more people we bring in, the more people we have to sell our products to and keep growing in that. So.
Well, and everybody surrounds himself with the people that they, you know, have the best acquaintance with, and, you know, the best passions and all that. So it's big enough to do what you want to do. That's for sure.
Absolutely. All right, boss. Well, I really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. We went longer than normal, but this was
thank you all very much. It was fun.
Yeah, one of the easiest interviews I've done by far. So
thank you, my man.
you know, it's I like to think that we can call you guys friends, and you know, you're welcome up here anytime, and we're certainly going to come visit. And I appreciate all of your help, support, getting us to here for that part. You know, so
yeah, I'm glad I was able to help. So
I'm going to go ahead and put you aside for just a minute and check out with them, and I'll be right back with you, and we'll close this out.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
All right, everybody. I really appreciate you hanging out. This was, I mean, you guys probably know already, this was easily one of the best ones we've done so far. I saw almost 70 in here at a few different times. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out. Obviously, Josh is one of the greats, you know, that's willing to help out everybody. And he's a wealth of knowledge. So if you guys aren't already following what Ball Python Shed is doing, make sure you do. All the links are in the description of the video. They always are. And he's been a great help. But I appreciate you guys coming by too. I mean, obviously the lives are nothing without the supporters and the people dropping in. The super chats are fantastic. I really appreciate that. That definitely helps support the channel and helps us, you know, move forward, buy new equipment, be able to go visit some of these people, and that's big for us. But I think that's going to do it for this week. Let me double check real quick. I've got next Saturday. Next Saturday is going to be fun. Next week, we're bringing on Kendra Wesley and her partner, Jeff, from Puget Sound Pythons. That one's going to be interesting because, like I said, I like bringing in the lesser known, the ones that aren't in the front of the public eye, so to speak. And Kendra is easily the most quiet, keep to herself, underground Pacific Northwest breeder that we all know. So I'm really excited to have them on. So that'll be the same time next Saturday. I'll see you guys there. Another video, hopefully Thursday as scheduled. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we'll talk to you in the next one. See ya.